Welcome to Pigeon River Farm, doing farming right. I'm Robert Brown, the owner of Pigeon River Farm. Thank you for viewing.
Good afternoon. This is Bob, and I wanted to have a little thoughts of a farmer. This afternoon we're going to talk about where farming fits in the environment and the economy. Things that we don't give much thought to at all is the impact farming has both negatively or positively on the environment. The environment is something to us that is critical. We need a healthy environment for all of us. So how can you be part of cleaning up the environment, supporting farmers? I'll give you an example of what we do here on Pigeon River Farm. So maybe this can be an example to others. Hopefully we're doing it right. Let me know if your opinion. What we do here is we do high intensity rotational grazing of our cattle, goats, and poultry. As you can see in the background here, there's goats and chickens out on pasture right now. What they do is allow us to reclaim the land. We went once from row cropping, we were a row cropping farm, and we switched over to a grass-based farm. Now, in all fairness, we locally source the grains that go in for the poultry. Our goats and our cattle are 100% grass-fed, so we don't disturb the earth. And why that's important? We're involved with a study right now on the whole carbon sequestering issue. What type of farming, how impact does farming have on carbon? So you've probably heard all the negatives. Well, there's some positives too. So the study that we're involved with is run by the University of Madison, but it's really a very involved, it's going to be looked at worldwide. The first research papers come out and we're part of the study, and we did pretty well. We took a new pastured area, an area that we put into pasture 6 years ago. Prior to that, it was organically row cropped. Prior to that, 1999, it was chemically row cropped. So that's the history of the soil. So as far back as we know, probably 30s, 20s, it had been in crop land. The adjoining property to ours is actually been in chemical farming since the very beginning, since chemicals became a thing in the 50s. So what we've looked at here is we did a comparison. So what is happening with exactly the same kind of soil? One now has been put into a pastured environment with the rotational grazing of the animals, and the other one that has been put in or left in the conventional farming mode with the chemicals, no-till. So that's one of the things that was interesting, because it's always been no-till for at least the last decade or so. So we went ahead and the samples were pulled. It was a blind study, so I wasn't involved with it at all, other than I know when the people are here pulling the samples. And the data just came back, and it was very encouraging. The majority of the farms that are pasture-based, there's some that can go back to pastures. They can track back 100 years to 70 years to last year. So I mean, it's everything in between. So we're at that. What we really want to see is what rate it actually changes at. So at 6 years, as of 2020, was a really good point of reference. They're trying to see how quickly it absorbs the carbon, and it was very positive. We were already sequestering carbon, relatively aggressive in comparison to the no-till environments, very aggressively, be it compared to conventional till, just off the chart. So that's an area that I wanted to talk about. On the next item here is we're going to talk about is how you can be involved. It takes a lot more effort. It's a lot more expensive to go ahead and raise beef, goat, and chicken in that environment. It's not a very easy thing. It's very expensive versus I always call it the animal concentration camps, where you mechanically harvest all the feed, you bring it into the CAFO, confined operation barn, and you go ahead and you feed the animals out that way. That's incredibly efficient to convert your I guess we'd say hydrocarbon, your oil, into a protein that you can eat. Kind of a sad way around. Terribly damaging the environment. If you've seen in any area of the United States here with these massive CAFOs, any amount of manure that has to be dealt with, on this farm we have virtually none. I mean, it's so little, a little bit of overwintering, and the overwintering goes into my 3 high tunnels. And within the 3 high tunnels, we raise a significant amount of vegetables. So everything gets composted, put it there. So again, it's a closed loop environment. I'm bringing in some outside, so yes, we have an environmental impact, but not the environmental impact a lot of people would think. So here's where you as a consumer can support local farms that are doing farming right. And that's really the key, is to support local farms that are doing farming right, utilizing these farming methods. So from an environmental standpoint, a global warming standpoint, I guess we kind of hit all the right boxes there. But the thing that we run into is it's such an expensive route to entry. So think about a young farmer trying to get into this. When I tell you it's not hundreds, not thousands, not tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, you're running into really get an operation going. You're heading toward $1 million. There's just no way around it. The competitiveness, the Bill Gates buying up 250,000 acres of farmland, well, it cuts a lot of small farmers out. So what can you do? You need to support your local farm. You need to support farms that are actually doing farming right. And that means you have to put your money where your mouth is. Everybody is all out there protesting for global warming and this and that. I'm all on board. But what good does that really do? Yeah, you change some rich politicians' attitude? Yeah, come on. If you've ever read a history book, it doesn't work that way. The reality is, if you can vote with your wallet and get the farmer to do the right thing because you're willing to pay for it, is really the key. Now, in our particular case, I'm not looking for any extra business. We're doing fabulous. I'm real happy. We got a good business model here, and we have plenty of customers. But there's a lot of other farms out there that need that guidance and that support that you can encourage. I belong to Grassworks. It's an organization here that's kind of an international organization, but it's located here in Wisconsin. We have professional grazers, but what's most interesting in it is the young people wanting to get into this, but the financial barrier to do that. So if you're a person that has means, one of the things to give some thought to, or if you put together a cooperative, is help young farmers get a start, or existing farmers changing their ways by investing in the feed. I mean, the grass-fed beef example that we raise, it's kind of a good news, bad news. My input costs are relatively low because I do everything so efficiently with our rotational grazing. So that works incredibly well. Same thing with the goats. The reality is, if I was buying this land today, it's unaffordable. I guess the joke always is I couldn't buy my own place. There is no way could I afford the place that I currently own in the current inflated market. So how is that going to happen? How are we going? And if you don't have a investment, in other words, you're not actually buying into it. That's why rented, lease, that whole model, the Bill Gates model, I don't agree with it. Because, when you're on rented ground, if any of you rent an apartment, you know what I'm talking about. You don't own it. They can throw you out. But if you own the home, you own your car, whatever it may, you put a much more effort into maintaining it, keeping it, growing it, improving it. The same thing applies with farms. And so this model that I've seen where the wealthy buy up all the farmland, and then we're going to get, some kind of model in place where the farmers are going to come and show up, that ain't going to work. At least my opinion on it, I do not see that as being a thing at all. I don't see that being a thing at all. So back to the beef. Our input cost on a beef is overall less, but our land cost, if I've annualized out the rise in land prices, if I turn this land with its productivity and all the nutrients I put in it into a cash crop. Just an example. If I took the 50 acres that you see behind us here, and I put that into, turned it over with the plow and put genetically modified corn or beans in here, I'd make a fortune. This with the productivity, I've seen this happen many, many times when organic farmers or grass-based farmers sell their place. Big chemical farms move in and they get 3, 4, 5 years of free ride off all the nutrients that are in there. So again, we need to make an effort to stop that. And the next thing I want to talk about here is our animal welfare model. That is an important thing, and we do this based on really our love for the livestock. Not an easy thing to do. Again, there's a lot of costs that go into it, a lot of additional effort, and you have to be a thinker. One of the things that I see with farming, and not to begrudge any of my brethren anything, but the model that's out there where you go ahead and you do the right chemical mix that Monsanto tells you or Dow Chemical tells you, you put in just all the right ingredients from the seed company and your mix and everything else, and voila. It's really just a recipe that you get at the store and throw it in the oven. It really doesn't take any, I guess, lower innovation. All farmers are very innovative. You got to keep the equipment running. But when you try to work in the organic environment, you try to work in the natural environment, when you're looking at sequestering carbon, I don't make a penny on it. I'm just doing it because I feel it's the right thing to do. These are all critical items, and you as the consumer can really be an integral part of this. What's interesting for us, our distributor is Trust Local Foods out of Appleton, Wisconsin, and they call on a lot of the smaller health food stores, the smaller co-ops. I think there's about 38 ones that they call on, 38, and a number of restaurants. Anyways, them particular, so Trust Local Foods buys their products from local farms. So there's direct supporting of local farms. And then, of course, they go to the urban centers where these high-quality co-ops and health food stores are located. That's where you need to really, that's really kind of where you can play the best. We sell off the farm, and it works, but be honest with you, we appreciate our customers very much, but it is actually a burden. I look at the money that I make on our on-farm sales versus what I do in the wholesale environment. The wholesale environment just works so much better. It doesn't consume the time. I love to see our customers, but each one requires so much time that we spend, there isn't a big return on investment there. And where do you grow it? Then you grow it big enough, you got to hire a person to handle it. No, let's get the food to the customer where they live and let them support the farmer by their buying habits. So validating out, actually doing a little detective work is critical here. You have to go out and find out where that food's coming from, who's the farmer actually doing it. Pigeon River Farm's got a great reputation. And we're very transparent. If you watched our videos, we have nothing to hide. And if we make a mistake, we want to correct it. The thing is, it's still done out of our dollars. You can see by the gray hair, I've been around for a few years. I've done a few other things in conjunction with farming. So I've got I've had some revenue streams come in that have helped us. I don't know if I could have really done this early on without them other revenue streams. I really kind of doubt if that could have been the thing. Now, more than ever, we need to get that. So we need to have the food that you consume, the high quality food that you consume. People have to pay a fair price. They have to pay an honest price for it. And when you think about what takes place, grass-fed beef, coming in from every imaginable third world country filled with hormones, I have to compete against that. So people look at my price and go, wow, that's an awful lot, where I can buy grass-fed beef. They have no idea where it's coming from. There's no such thing as country of origin on beef and pork. Our politicians took care of that. There again, eggs. Our egg business is a very unique situation here where we do the soy-free, organic, pasture-raised. When you think about all them things, it's fairly complicated. The summertime, as you can see right now, it's just gorgeous out here. The birds are out on pasture. Everything is just going well. I got to make this work during the typically 5 cold months that we're in central Wisconsin, the 5 cold months that we have. So I have multiple high tunnels. I dual purpose them high tunnels. During the summer, they put out very high quality vegetables and fruits. During the wintertime, they are a sanctuary for our birds. They get the vitamin D, they have the greens, it all works. There's a break between, there's a legal break, so I might as well put that out there, between the last time the birds are in there and by the time we pick any produce. And we try to avoid, sanitary is a key ingredient, but them are all issues, them are all things you have to work with. So we put all the nutrients in the high tunnel that come from the birds, so we don't end up having manure. And then it's consumed during the summer months in the highest quality vegetables you can imagine. So it's a closed loop, multifaceted operation. That's what works for us. And you can also get involved. And I encourage you, if you're watching this and you have the heart out there to do it, look at all the different venues to what it takes to actually get into farming. One little secret I can tell you, there is a lot of elderly farmers, imagine that, a lot of farmers would love to have their farm stay in farming and preferably sustainable farming. I know of a couple that it's really worked out well. Most often the kids have left the farm, they don't have an interest in it, it's just a big piggy bank to them. Unfortunately, I'm kind of speaking of reality. Now, my own family, they're wonderful, but in general, this piggy bank approach has caused so many quality farms to get sold to big corporate farms, and somebody puts a bunch of money in their pocket, and wow, that was great. All the work, great grandma and grandpa did, grandparents did, and mom and dad did, and wow, look at I can buy a brand new Mercedes. That's where a lot of this is going. So think about it. If you can get into farming, you need to go out and reach out and talk to people and get in these connections, start working, do some networking, and find, because you just might be surprised. There's somebody out there that is 70 or 80 years old that wants to get out of farming, doesn't want the farm sold to some big CAFO, and if you can work on getting financial backing. Now, there's great programs with the feds have through the Department of Ag, great programs out there, and your banks and so on. But look at other people that want to make a difference. If they want to make a difference in the environment, have them put the investment in to doing farming right and see if that model works. I've seen it a few times. Give that a try. Well, I appreciate that if you stayed to this point. I know it's kind of a long rant, but it's just thoughts that I have. So I thank you very much and have a great afternoon.